Welcome to Truth, Money, and Freedom. Today is Thursday, the 24th of October, 2019. Sorry about the long delay in between videos, guys, between work and, all the stuff I'm doing with insurance, the lightning strike, all that. It's taken a little bit of more time than I thought it would, and it's going to take a bit more, and I apologize about that. But I did want to get a video out. First of all, let you guys know I'm still alive, and I've even been contacted by a few of you wondering if I was still alive. And I really, really appreciate those who contacted me, and you guys know exactly who you are. And thank you for thinking of me. And I'm okay. And I just wanted to chime in just a little bit. Now, during this time, it's not like I've been taking time to study what's going on. I've really been working hard, and watching the markets and news is something I have not been really doing much of in the last 3 weeks. So, but I did want to bring a few things to your attention. Number one, Chicago's death spiral. There can be no can. There's no can left to kick. It's over for Illinois. We all know this. This is just pure mathematics. No emotion. It's not like, oh yeah, it's a liberal state, it's a blue state, it needs to go down. Nothing of the kind. This is a very sad situation from years and years and years of corruption. Illinois is now going to pay the price with austerity. And that's what this article here is about. They're cutting services and raising taxes. And now I don't have a story for this right now, but Chicago, I believe it's in Chicago. I don't think it's the whole state of Illinois. Teachers are in strike right now because, they once again, there's something about money or something, some kind of concession they want from, school districts. I don't know what it is. But the fact of the matter is, they already doubled property taxes in the state of Illinois back in 2013 to cover the shortfalls in the teachers' pension fund. People are leaving Illinois in droves. The rich are gone. Now the middle class are working on their exodus as we speak. Middle class is leaving. There's no one left to tax. Illinois will fall. It's going to be in my opinion, the first state to claim bankruptcy when this downturn happens. And by the way, the downturn has already happened, evidenced by two forms of QE going on right now. The first is the repo market, and the second one is honest to God QE, or quantitative easing. The Federal Reserve is buying, toxic assets and treasury bonds from banks so they can have more liquid cash in the vaults. But this story will be linked down below. Next story, and I only brought this up because this is happening all over the world. Basically, protests are happening everywhere. Chile, Argentina, Lebanon. Of course, we know Venezuela. I believe there's some happening in Brazil. They're happening in Germany. They're starting in England. Guys, I can't even recall all the states right now, countries that are actually going through protests. This is literally the populace starting to assert itself, saying, you guys can't do this to us anymore. This is along the lines of the fourth turning, which is something I promised that I would do more of a podcast on, but I do have to get my schedule aligned with conjectures to do a good podcast, a good discussion of the fourth turning and what it's about. But basically, it's every 4 generations you have something like this happening, which is when, basically the populace decides that they just have enough. And they uprise and they start taking out their governments. Either just by just collectively coming together and saying, no more, we're not going to pay your taxes, or going and beheading their kings, as is in the case of the French Revolution. Any way you slice it, it's the fourth turning, and it's right on schedule. So this should not surprise anyone that this is going on. The only thing that and it doesn't surprise me, but it is a little bit out of the ordinary that it's happening pretty much all around the world at the same time. The reason for that, of course, is all of our fiat currencies are failing at the same time. All our currencies are worthless. And the central banks know this, the governments know this, they just hope we don't get it. We don't understand that those little bits of paper that we that we kill each other for, that we go to work for, actually have absolutely no intrinsic value whatsoever. Not only that, they have no fundamental value. These are just little bits of paper that are supposed to represent something, which is a promise to repay. It's a debt note. So the positive side of that is the bond, which it represents the debt market. The green pieces of paper we have actually negative value. We've gone through this before, but I just want to let you guys know that it looks like we're heading into some very interesting times here, and it looks like we're pretty much all going to go through this at the same time. Now, for those of us who live in the United States, we have the world reserve currency. We most likely, along with the British pound, will be the last currency standing. So we may not get the level of protesting at this point in time, but believe me, it's coming. It'll spread here in the United States as well. I'm very sure of that. And then the last story is basically something that was written by Alistair McLeod. And Alistair McLeod is very well known as a silver and gold guy. He is in London. He has partnered with Peter Schiff for gold money. And I know Peter Schiff, some people love him, some people hate him. But Alistair McLeod actually brings up some really good points here. And we're talking about the dangerous game of chicken with economic reality, which every day tells us that trade is slowing and credit everywhere is maxed out. Key economies are beginning to reflect this in statistics, having for so much this year screamed the message at us through business surveys. I mean, he goes on and on and on saying that it's over. And historically, now, once again, I'm not a financial consultant. I have to say that in every video. Historically, this is where gold and silver come in, gang. Cryptocurrencies may or may not. That's a hedge. But gold and silver typically start coming in at these points. Now, for those of you in the United States, I want you to listen to something that I have to tell you that's very important. And that is the dollar is the shiniest turd in the box. Therefore, silver and gold really haven't gone up very much in dollars. You go anywhere else in the world, gold is at an all-time high. It's never been higher in Australian dollars, Canadian dollars, British pounds. Go to Iranian Toman, whatever. It doesn't matter. Pick a country. Gold has never been higher in their currencies, ever. But the dollar, where we have been overprinting like crazy, is still being suppressed. Gold is still being suppressed, so is silver. Can it go on forever? Can they keep piling paper on it? Well, the answer to this statistically, mathematically, is no. There will be a breaking point. But I'm here to say I don't know when that breaking point is going to happen. And right now, I just like to convey a message to my listeners worldwide, particularly those in the United States where I'm at. If you haven't started getting gold and silver, you might want to think very seriously about getting rolling on that, because the rest of the world is wishing that they had a year or two ago. In a year or two from now, those of us in the United States that don't have silver and gold will wish we had gotten it when it was cheap. So something to think about. Now, I have also given a lot of thought, and I do want to say one more thing here before I wrap it up. I don't want to make this one a long one because of my lack of time. I miss you guys, by the way, and I promise you when I'm done with all my work, I will be producing videos again. What I want to say is that I do think silver and gold are going to go up beyond the rate of inflation when the paper market breaks. It's particularly silver. So for those of you who are thinking, well, it's just going to go up with inflation, I won't make any additional gains. I understand that logic and that reasoning. Silver and gold were never designed to do that for you. But because of the suppression, there is a chance if that paper market breaks, silver will very much give you gains above and beyond inflation. Gold, probably not as much. Silver should do, quite well in that scenario. Silver should be significantly higher than it is now. JP Morgan, along with the central bank, the Federal Reserve, along with the U.S. government, and then before JP Morgan, Bear Stearns, which has been around a long time, have all worked together to keep the price of silver down. And then you go to the Federal Reserve, U.S. government, and HSBC, HBSC, whichever it is, have kept down the price of gold. Now they can't keep the price of gold down as much as they do silver, but silver is really suppressed, really hardcore suppressed. So until we see a bigger difference, a smaller difference in the silver to gold ratio, silver might be your better bet right now. But again, I'm not a financial consultant, but gold is very attractive. I get it. Gold is going up, so it makes you want to get it more. But maybe you've missed the boat necessarily because of price on gold now. You can concentrate on silver, which is still being pressed down pretty hard. It's like $17.80 an ounce right now. With a premium, you might pay $18.50, $19 an ounce. But when that ratio, that is currently something like 85 to 1, when that ratio closes, um, uh, you'll see what I'm talking about with the price of silver. People will be, once the ratio gets small enough, people will change in their silver for gold, and then the silver shortage will be over. But then there'll be a gold shortage. Keep that in mind. Once again, it is all about getting into the undervalued assets, my friends. We're talking about survival here. I know many of you have given me a hard time over crypto. But I'll tell you what, I've been in crypto for almost 3 years, and I'm still on top. I mean, even though we've taken these horrible, horrible dips, those of you who have got into crypto 3 years ago or longer are still on top. Those of you who bought at the highs of 2017, beginning of 2018, not so much, and that's very unfortunate, but they will probably rise again. My guess is they will, particularly Bitcoin and many of the core coins. You'll see Litecoin go up, you'll see a Monero go up, and many, many other coins. Ethereum will probably go up quite a bit. So if that assertion is true, and you already have precious metals, may I suggest, as not a financial consultant, you consider buying this dip in crypto, staying with the safe coins, Bitcoin, Litecoin, Monero, Ethereum. And there's probably others, but I'm not going to get into that. These are probably the safest coins you could look at. Please consider it. If you have gold and silver, I would say gold and silver first. Those are, hold it in your hand. I meant it's yours. It's can't be taxed. Not in the United States anyway. I think Minnesota is the only state that taxes gold and silver. So it's, it's yours. It's your property. It's Lloydial property. It's yours and no one can take it from you. So, all right, but that's all I had to say. Guys, once again, I'm not a timetable guy. I know that there's a lot of people on YouTube saying we're slipping into this thing right now. It's happening. And for the most part, I would have to say I 100% agree. But you have to remember now, the Federal Reserve is doing non-QE QE, or QE cubed as I call it. It's actually squared. But we have the repo market. So we have the Federal Reserve giving an enormous amount of money to banks for an overnight up to 14-day loan. And then they're keeping, some kind of treasuries or something as collateral. Now, the other form of QE is $60 billion a month, and that is small by today, right now. It's going to get much larger. I think we're in the beginnings of this thing because the velocity of currency has slowed down to the point where they need to start injecting real money into the system now. This is all going to the banks right now, and the banks will probably start offering incentives for loans, and you'll find it through the deal mostly in auto. I don't think you'll find it in the housing market at this time. That bubble is about as big as they can possibly pump it. In the auto industry, I think you're going to start seeing huge incentives because the auto industry right now is a rotting corpse. They are dying right now. They're in real trouble because they kept jacking up the price of the cars to the point where no one can afford them anymore. Not to, you got to get a 10-year loan to buy a car, these days. So I think auto is where you're going to start seeing some of this money slosh to. This is my best guess, but I do have to say that I think the stock market and the bond market will just continue going up until they don't. I don't have a date for you. I don't have a time. I don't have a season. So it when it bombs out, it bombs out. However, the thing that I have always looked for, and I've been, like I said, very, very much watching this since 2007. I've been watching the bond market. I'm waiting for the bonds to start, the yields start to climb like crazy. That means bonds are selling off. When that happens, you know that you're in the middle, or you're in the beginning of a wealth transfer. And where that money goes, we'll find out pretty quick. When it actually happens, we'll find out within days of it starting. It'll probably start with gold and silver. My guess is it will also go to crypto. And there are many, many reasons I say that. But guys, I just like to say again, I don't know. I know when this thing is going to start. However, the fact that they're doing two forms of QE right now at the Federal Reserve, and neither of them are officially QE, according to Jerome Powell. Yes, they are QE. They're definitely QE. The banks are lacking liquidity. That's what QE is all about, quantitative easing. Easing even more money into the system. But it's at the bank level. Now, eventually, I believe that will go to the auto market. That's, like I said, I put a lot of thought into it, and I think that's where it's probably going to start going. So incentives will start coming out, and then, for instance, 0% for like 7 years, maybe, for buying a car, or other incentives from the manufacturer, maybe because they're being subsidized by the government or the banks, because the banks have a vested interest in the auto industry continuing. So, at any rate, that's all I have for you guys for right now. Once again, sorry about the long delay in videos. My next video won't be 3 weeks. I promise you, but I am very, very busy, and I have to get certain things off my plate. I've got to finish up this insurance stuff too, and I've got a lot of customers waiting on me, and I've got to take care of them as well. So, but I will get more videos out much sooner than the 3 weeks that you've had to wait for this one. I want to thank all of you for hanging with me. We appreciate you very, very much at Truth, Money, and Freedom. Once again, I represent a much larger group. We're on Discord. You can see it in the link below. If you want to join us in Discord, I try to be there as much as possible. It's usually while I'm driving. But there's a lot of very sharp, very, very intelligent folks in there. They're all smarter than I am. And we talk about such things. We talk about the stock market, the bond market, where the QE money is going. We talk about gold and silver. We talk about crypto. These are the things we kind of talk about. Plus, we talk about philosophy, psychology. And not just of the money markets, but of culture in general. So it could be pretty interesting in there sometimes. There's some pretty deep discussions. We also have some fun sometimes too. We used to hold Bitcoin funerals in there. And those were a lot of fun to hold. And those were joking, of course. But at any rate, thank you again for hanging out with us. And I truly mean this from the bottom of my heart. May God bless each and every one of you and all of your families. Take care, gang.